hope that my young nieces, nephews, through my cousins, younger cousins, can see that I had to choose myself to save myself. And I'm
So
not,
you're like 32 years old or something at this point?
yeah,
Or
31.
okay,
Yeah.
31, and for the first time in your life feeling like you can really do whatever you want and not feel like you have people breathing down your back,
Yes.
judging your moves that are not they're not
Yes.
following the path they want
Right.
for you. Wow.
Yes.
That must have been invigorating to say the least.
Yeah, empowering, freeing,
Mhm.
was a necessary part of my evolution. I feel so fortunate to have had this experience now, almost, almost a decade later. Looking back, I am just incredibly blessed and grateful for my life having gone in this direction despite a major relationship not working out. And even in that, again, like I pointed out earlier, failure is not always what defines you, you
Mhm.
know. Sometimes certain relationships are just not meant to work out,
Mhm.
and that's okay because what my journey has given me here has outweighs so much more than the little loss that I've experienced since.
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
So you were here for you finished that lease out for 6
Yeah,
months.
I finished that lease out for 6 months and then I renewed the lease.
Okay.
And I stayed there for for 3 years.
Okay.
And in
And
that
you moved here single to
single,
Portland, and then when did you meet this person that you ended up forming a
yeah,
relationship with?
I met him in a work situation. We were part of the same organization,
Mhm.
and we were teamed to work on a project together. And right off the bat, we were very well connected
Mhm.
mentally, intellectually, emotionally, and we dated for a little while.
Mhm.
And he proposed
Mhm.
after a year. And, you know, just one of the happiest moments of my life, really.
Aw.
And, just right, that very nice balance of someone outside of the culture,
Mhm.
no baggage of the culture
Mhm.
or tradition. And this is just a disclaimer, no offense to anyone who does enjoy the culture or tradition. It just wasn't for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, his family was wonderful to me um, at the time. And, we got along really well. And as we got married,
How long were you guys so you dated for a year, got engaged, and
yeah,
then how long were you guys engaged before the wedding?
6 months.
Okay.
Yeah. Because again, my family, they wanted to rush things along. And we didn't want that to affect our decision, but he completely understood that this needs to, and he was serious about settling down at the time. So
May I
he,
ask how your parents took to the news of you being involved with someone that was not maybe part of
they knew
your
that I would end
culture?
up like this. Like, I mean, as in end up with someone else. I hadn't already let them know, like a year into being here, that, hey, I might be seeing people that are not what you're used to.
Yeah.
And they were totally fine with it
Okay.
because they have a daughter over 30 and she just needs to get married.
Okay. That's
No, nothing
priority.
else matters. Nothing else
Get
matters.
married.
Get
Get married
married.
by now, dang it.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
so yeah, it was
So 6 months, get
6 months,
married,
and
living here in Portland together.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Then that was
Did you guys move in
amazing.
after you got married or like moved
Did
in together?
what?
You guys moved in together and
Yeah,
okay. And then we're together for at what point did you, because I know you'd mentioned to me that you guys eventually moved to
yeah.
Seattle?
We moved to Seattle in the third year
Okay.
of our marriage, and that's
This is
when
during the pandemic?
the pandemic happened a little while after we moved.
Okay.
And initially, things were fine. I mean, the first 3 years of our marriage in Portland were just wonderful, just fantastic. Everything was aligned and we were communicating really well, and it was just the best time ever I've had in a relationship with someone. So we just had a lot of fun, and that was the focus of the relationship. I think
Fun,
having
yeah.
fun.
A good partnership, it sounds like.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
And he got this opportunity in Seattle, and we were very dedicated to one another's growth as people, as career people, as you know, emotional beings,
Mhm.
personal development. Like a big he played a big role in my growth as an artist.
And
And
at this point, were you sorry, I know
that's
you
okay.
said you picked up some marketing work when you moved here, started to explore art. Had you transitioned into, like, art being, like, also a
Aside,
career
yes. Yeah.
okay,
I was starting to work on my craft a lot more seriously after I
okay.
got married. And I'm completely self-taught. And at that time I was doing a lot of watercolors. That was my just sort of foray into art, doing floral watercolors
Mm.
and learning techniques, and just trying to figure out who I am as an artist. And as I've come along in the journey, I now know who I am as an artist. But anyway, he got this opportunity. Uh, you know, Great opportunity for him,
Mhm.
and I was completely supportive, and I thought and we both thought that Seattle was going to be this exciting adventure for both of us,
Yeah.
as one does think that. And it just didn't turn out that way. We moved there. It was chaotic and messy. Like, the city was just stressful to live in. It's more expensive than Portland, and it's full of just this chaotic energy. People don't drive like they're ready to like just kill you on the road.
Mm.
It's
A lot of my friends, and people that aren't familiar with the Pacific Northwest will ask me, like, the differences between Portland and
Oh
Seattle.
my god, it's like going from 0 to 100,
Mm.
in a blink of an eye. And I
Faster
couldn't
pace?
faster paced, not that much of a sense of community, even though it's a bigger city, or at least we couldn't find it.
Okay.
We just didn't have it, and he worked a lot, and I was doing my own thing from home, working on freelance marketing, contracts with nonprofits or whatever ad agencies at the time. And he just started to go into a different zone mentally. And then the pandemic happened, and then that just sort of affected things even further. Like, we just didn't know how to form ourselves independently or as a couple at that point, because it was, I don't know why moving to a different city made us this way, but it did. It's just one of those,
Mhm. Well,
like,
did you feel that shift in your guys' relationship once you moved there, or was it more like when the pandemic hit, or a little bit of
a
both?
little bit of both,
Okay.
and more toward the middle of the pandemic, I guess, or right before that, where he would just come home feeling so stressed out. He had a long commute to work. He got home because I was working from home, that he needed to entertain me
Mm.
or like be with me or spend time with me. And he wanted to genuinely, but we were both so exhausted all the
Yeah.
time in a way that was very different from our Portland life. Like,
Hadn't mhm.
there was no time for fun or just time for quality things. It was
Mhm.
just because he was so focused on his career and leveling to that next stage, he just sort of started to change. I don't know what to call it. It was just sort of a weird metamorphosis.
Yeah, well, it sounds like like you said, we're saying the energy between differences in the cities
Yeah,
really took a toll on both of you guys.
exactly. I didn't know how to help him. Like, he was in a completely different mental state, and we just started to drift. And that's when we both decided to go into marriage counseling. And it did whatever it could at that time, and in a lot of ways, it didn't do what we wanted it to do. You
Went
know,
into it, I assume, hoping it would bring you guys
bring
together,
together,
open up
yeah.
better communication.
And on some levels that did work, but we just our counselor wasn't really the right fit for us, and then we decided to just find our own therapists
Individually.
individually, because literally there was no one available because of the pandemic. Like, it was so hard to find a therapist. It still is. I'm still
Mhm.
looking for one, but I just
It's
didn't.
impossible.
Yeah, it wasn't possible. And for a while, things got a little better. When that first summer rolled around, we went on a couple of trips and in the area because you couldn't really travel. It was the pandemic. And we reconnected a little better, and he was, just kind of brought us back to the initial phase of our marriage, just having time.
Mhm.
And, yeah, it kind
Enjoying
of,
each other's company
yeah,
again.
yeah, just kind of resetting and,
Yeah.
and, and reconnecting on an intimate level.
Yeah.
And it was nice to have that for a while. And I had brought it up with him that, this I didn't want him to feel the pressure of everything, of the new city, of me, of the job, the career. Like,
Mhm.
at this point, he is starting to not be too fond of the work.
Mm.
He hated his boss. It was just a lot of things. And I just, at this point, even though we were resetting and reconnecting, I was like, I just really want to go back to Portland. Can we do that? And he said no because he wanted to give it more time. Like, from a career perspective, it makes sense. You want to stay at one job for a little while.
And this wasn't a remote job for him, so he had to be locally in Seattle.
Yeah,
Okay.
he did, and
Okay.
he wanted enough time spent on his resume with this job and not look like he was jumping from job to job. So I got it. Like, even at that point, it was like 3 years. Just feels like an eternity.
And you guys
I
have been
was
in Seattle for how long at this point?
for a year.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was dying to come back. My friends were here. My community was here.
Yeah. It doesn't sound like you
My art
were
was here.
happy
My
there.
art, group was
Yeah.
here. It was just everything that I felt that I associated with home was here. And a lot of people were telling me that I just need to give Seattle a chance. How do you do that in a pandemic when everything's
It's not this.
closed?
Yeah.
And how do you do that when, I had volunteered at the library there for a little while, and that's when I started to feel like, okay, I could build a community here somehow, but then the libraries shut down. What do you do?
How do you connect?
How do you connect? So we
Mm-hmm.
just had each other, and there were times where we were driving each other crazy, living in the same place,
Mm-hmm.
just it was
No
exhausting.
other outlets. The
No,
city's not open. The
no,
world's basically shut down. You don't have your people there. He doesn't have his people there. You have
no.
just each other.
We just have each other, and it was hard,
Mm-hmm.
just I tried to go, and this is when I went further and further into my art. I would just try to detach from the moment, and he would go do his own thing with the video games and
Mm-hmm.
zone out, and that would be good for us, like, time spent apart is good for anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And then the following year, it was when things just started to disintegrate. I was working really hard on our relationship to work. I just because I had this gut feeling that he was just pulling away, not intentionally, but unintentionally.
Mm-hmm.
He started to, like, he adjusted to Seattle way better than I did because he was working somewhere he needed to be on site. And in his mind, he wanted to see how this whole thing goes with living in Seattle. He was someone who didn't get a chance to move away from home. He was always in Oregon. He went
Mm-hmm.
to college in Oregon, grew
Mm-hmm.
up in Oregon, and he wanted to be somewhere else. And he wanted to be in Seattle for a long time. And I did not. It was a complete absolute no from me. Like, I had not been able to form any community there, which
Mm-hmm.
is unlikely for someone like me. It's easy for me to do that. It's
Mm-hmm.
one of my natural gifts. Like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, look at how we
Yeah.
connected. So,
Seriously.
but that wasn't going to be the reason for me to end the relationship. that
Right.
just because I wanted to move back and he didn't. I just wanted to find a solution, something,
How do we make this work?
how to
But we
make
both
this.
need to like
Yeah.
individually be happy as well.
And um and he was seeing his therapist at this time, and I think along the way until summer he was working with this person, and then he decided that it was just not for him anymore. The relationship was not for him anymore. He wasn't feeling authentic because his words were, "I'm happy, but I don't feel authentic." And I looked at him and I said, "Shouldn't those two things correlate? If you're happy, you are authentic." And he said, "But I don't think I'm completely happy." And I took it. I mean, it took me a while to let it sink in. I wanted it to sink in. I was like, "There's nothing I can do." And he said, "No, there was nothing I could do." And in that moment, I was thinking, for two people who had such a good time for a while and cared deeply about each other and were so dedicated to each other, this was an awfully effortless way to give up on something that was good. I had very few complaints in that relationship,
Mhm.
but and now it's just over. Like, it dawned on me that you can work on something for so long and it still can't, there's no guarantee that it can work out, and it can be good. You can do all the right things and it still can't work out.
Mm.
And then the whole separation process began. It was so
So was there like a mutual was there a more
close, like a
conversation about this or
acceptance.
it's
Yeah.
yeah.
The days preceding the decision, we talked. He's like, this is just as hard for me as it is for you. I don't want to separate, but I feel like I need to do this for myself. And I understood completely. He was a very sensitive person,
Mhm.
as am I. I think most of people in my generation are sensitive
Mhm.
people. He was a sensitive person, and I didn't want to see more of those sides of him that were not sensitive, that were coming out during the ending of our marriage. Like, he became angrier and short-tempered and just
Mm.
lost, and I just didn't know what to do, and it made me feel like it was my responsibility to do something. And he made me feel like that too at times, but later he apologized for that. So I wanted him to retain his wholesome self
Mhm.
and discover who he was, and not, I mean, this was the hardest thing I've ever had to do, is to let someone go like this. And he it was also hard for him, although I felt like it was much harder for me than it was for him. Men, I don't know.
Yeah.
Now, um and at this point, we're starting the process, and to answer your questions, we had several more conversations about how to move forward and
What
what
is this
his
gonna
plan
look like?
yeah,
Yeah.
and what his plans were. And he just really wanted, like, he just had a change of heart for Seattle. Like, he wanted to stay there and
Mhm.
wanted to grow there, and he didn't want to hold me back from what I wanted to keep pursuing. And I was, in hindsight, minimizing myself a lot. I was just there, just being this wifely figure in his life, which he didn't need necessarily, like just being present as a companion. But, I was diminishing my art practice, or like, hey, my art can wait, or my career can wait. I just need to wait till I can move back home. It was just, I
Focus on what
was,
makes you happy and fulfills
yeah,
you.
and he could tell I was miserable there, and he didn't want to see me like that, and I didn't want to see him like that. So I think it was the hardest thing to do, but also the mature thing to do as well. Like, it was, you know,
Yeah. So you guys agreed we're gonna
yeah,
separate, and then Was it pretty quickly you realized, okay, I need to get back to Portland. That's my happy
Yeah.
place. Okay.
Yeah. I just started making plans immediately, and then I was like, well, I have to look for a job there now. What the hell? This is
Mm.
so scary. And then I reached
And
out to a few.
this is
This
in
in this is in
2021 last year,
yeah,
right?
yeah, October. This is
Okay.
all happening in October.
Okay.
And a week later, I reached out to all my contacts here, like, hey, I really need work. I'm moving back home. Things didn't work out, didn't go as planned. And so one person's contact reached out to me like, hey, I have some work for you. And it was just like, okay, this is the signal I need to move back. And around that time, I got my first big project art wise, like my my first biggest artistic project with the city. And I was enthralled and like reconfirmed in my decision, like this is what's meant for me.
So here you are going through this massive
Yeah.
transition, a separation from your husband, leaving the city you were in, coming back to the city that you felt at home and loved. And
Yeah.
then in the midst of all this chaos, and I mean, anyone who's moved and been through breakups, this is a lot to be dealing with.
Oh my God.
And then you had this amazing, the biggest like artistic professional opportunity present
Yes.
itself to you right around this time as well.
Right. It
It's
was
interesting to me how we were just talking about this, how
yeah.
like when the universe takes away something from you, or when you maybe lose someone or something, then it also sometimes will really open that other door or window. Maybe it's a small
Yeah.
window, maybe it's a big window, maybe it's a bigger door.
Yeah. It's
But here is this big opportunity for you.
yeah.
And did you feel like that was something for you to then like focus
I
your
know.
energy and everything on?
It was a confirmation. Like it was a weird time. Like the worst things and the best things were happening right alongside of each other, like a confluence of polarities, as
Mhm.
they say it. This is my signal to go home, and my family doesn't know yet about any of this. So
About your separation?
about my separation,
Do they know that you're back in
yeah,
Portland?
they
Okay.
do, and I will let them know when I'm personally ready. There's a lot going on with my family right now that I can't just tell them just yet.
Mhm.
So, but they know I'm back in Portland, and all these things started to fall into place: work, art, finding this apartment building,
Mhm.
reconnecting with everyone here. Just, I've, the best things have happened since I moved back.
Mhm.
Ever. The best things ever have happened. So as much as it was heartbreaking that it ended so effortlessly for me, I think, I'm here to break paradigms in this lifetime
Mhm.
and not follow any of the rules. I'm here to
Mhm.
break the rules that,
I mean, I feel like I mean, this is so closely like connected to, I think obviously we've had our own unique journeys, but
hmm
like what inspired me to start this podcast too, because it's been on this like self-discovery place for me. And so it sounds like for you, like you know, really took some time to like come home to yourself and figure out where you felt at peace and like put time back into what brings you joy and
yeah,
passion. And then when you did that, you know, even though there's a lot of chaos and heartache and a lot of heavy things going on, the universe is like, here you go, you're on the right
right.
path. And now, I mean, since you and I have become friends, I feel like you've expressed just feeling so much more, a lot of exploration of yourself and really like growing as a person even more, right?
Yes,
In
I
this
never
time.
thought that I could encounter more growth, and I'm surprised by the growth. I don't know if it's showing, but I'm feeling it,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I feel blessed to have this level of growth. I mean, it's been I've never been this in it, this introspective,
Mm-hmm.
having so many epiphanies and realizations going on all the time
Mm-hmm.
and feeling so fulfilled. You know, I don't think it's worth giving up yourself to a relationship unless it's completely giving you the whole picture of what's bringing value to you as a
Mm-hmm.
person. Just does that make sense? Like,
I mean, but then, mm,
no, what I'm saying is uh, get it, pursuing a relationship has to be worth giving up. whatever you have gained while being single. Like you're bringing all that growth to the next relationship. That's what I mean.
Right, right, right.
Not you,
But I did, but not
don't
giving up
abandon
your
yourself.
yes, yes,
That is the
yes.
that's
That's
the
the big
thesis.
learning.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the big learning
Yeah.
because it sounds like you know, obviously unintentionally, your intentions were to be like a
Right.
supportive partner and companion and, you know, support your husband in this amazing opportunity he had in a new city that you weren't super happy in, but you wanted to be there for him, which, you know, we all make, you know, they say like, you know, you have to make sacrifices in all relationships, but
Yeah.
there's got to be boundaries of that. And I think this is like such a, I mean, I can't speak to like your specific cultural like expectations, but I think it's even just across the board generational, like in terms
Yeah.
of the level of sacrifice that our parents and grandparents and great grandparents made in marriages.
Absolutely.
Now that's not necessarily the expectation, thankfully. And I think we're getting better about like, you don't have to completely, it shouldn't be the expectation that especially we as women need to, you know, put our career on hold to be the
No.
homemaker and the wife and the mother and the whatever else it may be. No,
God.
absolutely not.
No. The collective is changing.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
We still have a lot of room to improve
Oh,
on that,
definitely.
but
Oh my God. Yes. On many levels, but it starts with us.
mhm.
And, once the word is out, I don't know how my family's going to take it, but I hope that future my young nieces, nephews, through my cousins, younger cousins can see that I had to choose myself to save myself. And I want that to, be the lesson for them, is to choose themselves instead of being stuck in this whole, you know, it's if it's not a positive influence in their lives, just like it wasn't in mine, they don't have to conform to those rules either.
Mm-mm.
So this is what I'm this is my work here.
Well, I am so proud of you and
Thank
honored to be
you.
your friend because I mean, you're setting an example for not just your close family and friends too, but like a lot of other people. You're going to set this path now and like show you said your nieces and nephews and you know, who knows who else you might come into contact with that will be inspired to like choose themselves and their happiness first and break away from
Yeah.
whatever, you know, I know your cultural expectations and pressures. I know there's a lot of other cultures out in the world that have their own and it takes a lot of bravery. So I'm really proud
Yeah.
of you.
There's a lot of parallels in every culture
Mm-hmm.
with, conforming to traditions and rules like that, and having to live off of them for the rest of your lives without having explored anything in depth with yourself. So, and I'm proud of you for creating such, a uniquely advantageous platform for people like me to come and speak,
Well, thank
so
you for being willing to share. And I'm
you're so
excited.
welcome.
I know we have I have a lot more a lot of other topics that I think we'll be able
Oh
to
yeah,
chat
we've already
about.
talked
So,
about that before,
mhm.
so
Well, thank you so much. We
you're
can wrap it
welcome.
up.
Thank
And
you.
I am really excited. This is my first guest, and I've been wanting to get into having on additional guests, and I'm really excited to finally I think I've been a little bit nervous to take the leap. This is a
That's
great way to kick
perfect.
off, and I'm excited for future ones.
Yes.
So,
Delicious future ones.
yes, lots of
Yes.
chai tea.
Yeah.